Rejected by Cangmu Academy and mocked by the entire Imperial Capital, Xuan chooses a different path. When his sister's life hangs by a thread, the ruined Canglan Academy becomes his only hope. But behind its broken halls and forgotten name lies an old hatred, 36 unburied souls, and a burden no one else dares to carry. As new companions appear and Lanxiu prepares to leave Jiang Kingdom, Xuan's road grows darker, stranger, and far more dangerous. Now let us follow the next developments in The First Sword God, Episode 8. Yu Kangzhong's face turned purple with rage as he glared at Xuan. If Xuan had not been standing on the Nine Palaces platform, Kangzhong would already have attacked. Cangmu Academy had an iron rule. Once someone stepped onto the Nine Palaces platform, no one was allowed to interfere. Not even the elders and tutors of the academy, to put it plainly. This trial had been left behind by the founding ancestor of Cangmu Academy, for one reason: to prevent the academy's own elders from using personal grudges to bury true talent. Because of that rule, even though Kangzhong was furious enough to explode, he did not dare make a move. On the platform, Xuan did not even bother paying attention to him. He looked around and saw that the wooden figures had stopped moving. After thinking for a moment, he asked, "Does this mean I passed?" "Passed." Beneath the platform, Kangzhong sneered. "You use some cheating method to destroy the swords of those wooden figures, and you call that passing?" Xuan looked at him coldly and cut him off. "Cheating, do you have proof?" Kangzhong shouted angrily, "Proof? You are only a little Kai transformation realm cultivator. How could you make all those wooden swords vanish in an instant? And you still dare say you did not cheat?" Xuan looked around and sighed softly. "Now I understand why no one has broken this formation for so many years. So if someone breaks it, that means they cheated, Tusk. Today has truly opened my eyes." A wave of discussion rose around them. At that moment, a student of Cangmu Academy stepped forward and studied Xuan. "You are only in the Kai transformation realm. What ability could you possibly have to break the Nine Palaces formation?" Xuan looked straight at him. "But I did break it." The student shook his head. "There must be something strange about this. As Elder Kangzhong said, you must have used some special method." The other Cangmu Academy students nearby nodded in agreement. Of course, they refused to believe someone could break the Nine Palaces formation so easily. When they had joined Cangmu Academy, none of them had even dared dream of challenging this formation. Even the most monstrous geniuses leading Cangmu Academy had failed to break it. So why should this man before them be able to? Cheating. Almost everyone decided that Xuan must have cheated. Xuan looked at the wooden figures around him. Some had fallen silent. Others still seemed frozen in thought. He asked inwardly, "Senior, did I cheat? Are you stupid?" The mysterious woman's voice sounded in his mind. "Although you have not comprehended sword intent, you possess sword heart clarity, and you cultivate the invincible sword body art. You use swords to forge your body. Even if the art has not reached great completion, it has already shown some effect. These wooden figures can be considered low-level sword cultivators. With the formation supporting them, they can display considerable power. But you are a true great sword cultivator. Saying you have already stepped half a foot into the realm of a sword, Dao Grandmaster would not be excessive. Combined with the invincible sword body art's ability to absorb swords, if they were not sword cultivators, you might have had to spend some effort. But since they are sword cultivators, you are their natural counter." Xuan could only smile bitterly. The reason he had asked was because even he felt the victory had come too easily. But after hearing her explanation, he understood. He turned toward Kangzhong and was about to speak when a middle-aged man suddenly appeared in the field. The moment the man arrived, the Cangmu Academy students around them quickly bowed. "Greetings, Vice Academy Master Lanxiu." Even Kangzhong hurriedly bowed, "Vice Academy Master." Cangmu Academy had 3 Vice Academy Masters, and all 3 possessed true authority. Lanxiu. Xuan glanced at the man before him and his heart trembled. Unfathomable. This man's strength was perhaps only slightly weaker than the 9th Tower Lord he had met on the cloud ship. A true major figure had appeared. But this was exactly what Xuan wanted. The reason he had rushed into the 9 Palaces formation was to draw out someone important from Cangmu Academy. Lanxiu glanced at Kang Zhang and said, "Public matters are public matters. Private matters are private matters. Using public authority for personal revenge is unforgivable. From this moment onward, you are no longer responsible for recruitment. Go report to the library behind the mountains." Kang Zhang's face instantly turned pale. He hurriedly bowed. "Vice Academy Master, this person has not reached the Imperial Kai realm." This subordinate stopped him according to Academy rules. "I did nothing wrong." Lanxiu cut him off. "I do not know what grudge you have with him, but the recruitment of new students concerns the future prosperity of our academy. How can personal resentment be mixed into it? Say no more." Kang Zhang's expression became extremely ugly. He did not dare speak again, but he did not leave either. He only stepped aside and stared fixedly at Xuan. Lanxiu turned to Xuan. Xuan bowed slightly. "Greetings, Vice Academy Master." Lanxiu studied him for a moment and said, "Although I do not know what method you used to destroy those wooden swords, your foundation and combat strength are more than enough to enter our Cangmu Academy." He frowned. As if discovering something, he stepped quickly to Xuan and placed a hand on his shoulder. The Lanxiu sword inside Xuan's body quietly vanished. Lanxiu withdrew his hand quickly and looked deeply at Xuan. "You have no dantian." The moment those words fell, everyone around froze. Kang Zhang was also stunned, but only for an instant. Then wild joy filled his face. He was only short of laughing aloud. Xuan fell silent and asked inwardly, "Senior, why did you withdraw the Lanxiu sword?" "Is it bad for others to know I have a special dantian?" "Of course," the mysterious woman replied. "This method is far too shocking. If they know you use a sword as your dantian with your current strength, you may face great danger. This is an entirely new cultivation method and system." Xuan thought about it and realized she was right. He nodded lightly. "I have no dantian. Ha. On the other side, Kang Zhang suddenly burst into laughter. "No dantian. In other words, Xuan, the most you can be in this life is a brute martial artist. A low-level martial brute. What qualification do you have to enter our Cangmu Academy?" Xuan ignored Kang Zhang and only looked at Lanxiu. Lanxiu was silent for a moment before saying, "You have no dantian. It will be extremely difficult for you to step into the innate realm in this life. The academy cannot allocate resources to a student without a dantian. Therefore, you cannot become a student of Cangmu Academy. However, your foundation is not bad. You may remain in the academy as a martial attendant." A martial attendant was the lowest class of servant in the academy, responsible for odd jobs for students and tutors. A martial attendant. Xuan's face darkened. Naturally, he would not become some lowly attendant. His goal was to enter Cangmu Academy as a student. But just as he was about to release his battle intent, Lu Xiaoran's anxious voice suddenly sounded. "Young friend Ye." Xuan turned toward the voice. The moment he saw Ye Lian's face beside Lu Xiaoran, his expression changed drastically. At this moment, Ye Lian's head was covered in white frost. Cold air poured continuously from her body. She was as cold as a block of ice. Xuan panicked and rushed to Lu Xiaoran's side, pulling Ye Lian into his arms. The moment he touched her, the cold spreading from her body made him tremble. What happened? Xuan was truly terrified. "Brother. In the next life, I still want to be your little sister." Ye Lian's breathing became weaker and weaker. In the end, it was almost impossible to feel. Xuan held her tightly. His body trembled uncontrollably, and blood kept spilling from the corner of his mouth. Countless people watched the siblings. Lu Xiaoran looked at them with complicated eyes. He had never expected things to reach this point, and he had never imagined Xuan would have no dantian. No dantian meant he would never be able to condense Kai in his life. At that moment, Kang Zhang suddenly sneered and gave an order. "Men, drive these two siblings down Mount Kang." Several experts immediately rushed toward Xuan and Ye Lian. But before they could reach them, an old man silently appeared in front of Xuan. The old man was filthy from head to toe. His clothes were torn and ragged, and the heavy stench of alcohol clung to him. Seeing this old man appear, Kang Zhang frowned. He had not sensed when or how the old man arrived. The experts rushing toward Ye Xuan also stopped. Kang Zhang stared at the old man. "Who are you?" The old man did not answer him. He only looked at the siblings before him, studied Ye Lian for a moment and said, "I can save her." Hearing that, Ye Xuan snapped his head up. The old man looked at him. "But will you agree to join Canglan Academy?" Canglan Academy. The surroundings erupted in shock. That was Cangmu Academy's mortal enemy. No, at this point, Canglan Academy no longer even had the qualifications to be Cangmu Academy's enemy. Kang Zhang stared at the old man. "You are from Canglan Academy." The old man ignored him and looked only at Ye Xuan. Ye Xuan met his gaze. "As long as you can save my sister, I, Ye Xuan, will never betray Canglan Academy in this life." The old man pointed up Mount Kang's. From the foot of this mountain to the top, there are 36 corpses of Canglan Academy students. Every one of them died miserably. In the future, you may become one of them. Ye Xuan looked straight at him. "As long as my sister can be saved, even if I become one of them, I will have no resentment and no regret." The old man looked at him for a while. "Can you bring the bodies hanging along Mount Kang's path home?" Ye Xuan replied, "If you can save my sister, I will spend this life doing everything I can." The old man looked deeply at Ye Xuan. "From this moment onward, you are a student of my Canglan Academy." With that, he crouched down and placed a hand on Ye Lian's pulse. After a while, he stared at her without speaking, only gently rubbing the black ring on his index finger with his thumb. In the next instant, a tiny lotus as red as fire appeared in his palm. The moment the lotus appeared, the temperature around them rose sharply. "Fire spirit!" Someone cried out in shock. Kang Zhang was also stunned. In this world, there were certain strange treasures born from heaven and earth, and each one was extremely precious. The fire spirit before them was one of them. It could not be bought with monies. No, such a treasure was not something money could measure at all. Even in Cangmu Academy, such a natural treasure was rarely seen. Under everyone's gaze, the old man flicked his finger. The fire spirit immediately entered the space between Ye Lian's brows. Very soon, the cold Kai on Ye Lian's body receded like the tide. Meanwhile, the old man continued to send a mysterious power into Ye Lian through the hand resting on her shoulder. Time passed. Under Ye Xuan's tense gaze, color slowly returned to Ye Lian's face. Seeing this, Ye Xuan was overjoyed. About 15 minutes later, Ye Lian slowly opened her eyes. Ye Xuan quickly grabbed her hand, his voice trembling. "How do you feel?" Ye Lian looked around in a daze. Finally, she looked at Ye Xuan. Tears fell down her cheeks. "Brother, I am not dead," Ye Xuan smiled. But his entire face was already wet with tears. At this moment, a tiny flame mark suddenly condensed between Ye Lian's brows. The old man said that fire spirit can temporarily suppress the cold Kai in her body. But according to my estimate, it can only hold for a little over a month. After that, the fire spirit will disappear. Ye Xuan pulled Ye Lian and bowed deeply to the old man. "This kindness I, Ye Xuan, will remember for the rest of my life." The old man nodded lightly. "Come with me back to Canglan Academy." Ye Xuan nodded, "All right." The three were preparing to leave when Kang Zhang suddenly mocked from the side. "Ridiculous. I did not expect Canglan Academy to fall so low that it would pick up trash discarded by my Cangmu Academy. But that makes sense. After all, who would still willingly join Canglan Academy now?" The old man glanced at Kang Zhang but said nothing, as if he had not heard him. Just like that, under countless eyes, the old man led Ye Xuan and Ye Lian down the mountain. Behind them, Kang Zhang laughed without restraint. "Ridiculous, truly ridiculous. Canglan Academy has fallen so far it must pick up the garbage thrown away by my Cangmu Academy. Ha ha ha." At that moment, a white shadow suddenly swept in. When everyone saw that figure, they froze. It is National Scholar An. No one knew who shouted first, but in an instant the entire place boiled over. National Scholar An. She represented the younger generation of all Jiang Kingdom. To many young cultivators, she was an idol. Countless people stared at that white figure with burning eyes filled with worship and respect. Because Lanxiu was the pride of Jiang Kingdom. She was so outstanding that no one could even feel jealousy toward her. Before everyone's eyes, and Lanxiu stopped in front of the old man and the Yi siblings. She looked at Xuan. I am truly sorry. Xuan shook his head. This has nothing to do with you. And Lanxiu held out her right hand, the jade pendant. Xuan hesitated, then said, let me keep it. And Lanxiu looked straight at him. Why? Xuan met her gaze. Because it is a token of affection and kindness. And Lanxiu studied him for a moment, then nodded lightly. She then looked at the old man beside him. The old man glanced at Lanxiu and sighed softly. As expected of the most outstanding person in Jiang Kingdom. You have already reached this level. And Lanxiu was silent for a moment before saying, Jiang Kingdom cannot fall into chaos. The old man shook his head and smiled faintly. 36 corpses are still hanging on that road, and Lanxiu fell silent. The old man said nothing more and turned to walk down the mountain. Xuan cupped his fists to Lanxiu, farewell. After speaking, he led Ye Lian after the old man. And Lanxiu remained where she stood and slowly closed her eyes. Kang Zhang hurried to her and bowed respectfully. Tutor and I. Before he could finish, Kang Zhang was suddenly sent flying several zhang. Everyone was shocked and looked at Lanxiu in confusion. Because she was the one who had attacked. And Lanxiu looked coldly at Kang Zhang, who lay several zhang away. You dared make things difficult for someone I recommended. Kang Zhang panicked and was about to speak when a long spear tore through the air. PFFT. One of Kang Zhang's arms flew off, blood sprayed everywhere. The surroundings fell completely silent. Everyone stared at Lanxiu in shock. What was she trying to do? Before countless eyes, Lanxiu raised her head toward Mount Kang. Lai Ziu rolled down here. As soon as she finished speaking, she raised a slender finger and flicked it lightly. A silver spear shot into the sky. Around the spear, a massive dragon hundreds of zhang long suddenly condensed and roared toward Mount Kang. The dragon's cry shook the entire mountain. For a moment everything was still. Boom. A thunderous explosion erupted from Mount Kang. Then a shocked voice rang out, spear intent taking form. You have already become a Spear Dao Grandmaster, Spear Dao Grandmaster. The moment those words rang out, countless people gasped. And Lanxiu had reached the level of a Spear Dao Grandmaster. She was only 19. A 19-year-old Spear Dao Grandmaster. Everyone was completely stunned. Forget the history of Jiang Kingdom. Since its founding, even across the previous dynasties, there had never been such a person. She was truly unprecedented. Before long, Lai Ziu appeared before Lanxiu, his expression extremely grave. A Spear Dao Grandmaster alone was not terrifying. What was terrifying was becoming one at such a young age. Such talent was so frightening that in Cangmu Academy's history, only one person could compare. Gu Tianchen, the legendary figure who had once saved Cangmu Academy alone. And now, Lanxiu before him could be said to be no weaker. Lai Ziu pushed aside his thoughts and asked, why is National Scholar and so angry? And Lanxiu glanced at him, looking at you displeases me. The moment her voice fell, she tapped her toe lightly and shot forward. At the same time, the spear in her hand flew out like lightning. Lai Ziu's pupils shrank violently. He did not dare be careless and quickly stepped back half a step. The next instant, he swept his right hand forward, drawing the surrounding wind toward him. In a breath, a vortex of wind appeared before him, filled with countless wind blades as thin as cicada wings. Then the spear arrived. Boom. A thunderous explosion shook the air. In an instant, the countless wind blades shattered. A figure retreated again and again. That figure was Lai Ziu. He retreated several dozen zhang before stopping, blood spilling from the corner of his mouth. His entire right arm was covered in cracks like a spiderweb. The field was silent. And Lanxiu had defeated a Vice Academy, master of Cangmu Academy. The people around did not know Lai Ziu's exact realm, but how could someone who held the title of Vice Academy master be weak? At the very least, he had to be in the Nether Passage realm, above the Skysoar realm, or perhaps even higher. Yet he had lost to Lanxiu. Lai Ziu stared at Lanxiu. There was no anger in his eyes, only deep fear. Others might not know what stood behind Lanxiu, but he did. Back then, when Lanxiu refused to join Cangmu Academy, the academy had not dared make any excessive move. One had to understand, for a power like Cangmu Academy, if certain geniuses could not be recruited, they were usually destroyed. But toward Lanxiu, Cangmu Academy had never dared harbor any improper thought. And Lanxiu did not attack again. She glanced toward Mount Kang and shook her head. From this moment on, I have nothing to do with Cangmu Academy. After saying that, she turned and left. Lanxiu's face turned pale. National scholar and absolutely not. If we have offended you, we will apologize. Please, but Lanxiu had already vanished from everyone's sight. Lanxiu stood frozen where he was, his expression extremely ugly. At that moment, on the distant 9 Palaces platform, the 8 wooden figures suddenly returned to their original positions. A faint shadow appeared above the platform. The moment everyone saw that shadow, their expressions changed. Because that shadow was Gu Tianchen, who had left Jiang Kingdom nearly 300 years ago. The moment Gu Tianchen appeared, the entire upper level of Cangmu Academy was alarmed. Aside from the Academy Master, who was in seclusion, the other 2 Vice Academy Masters and several Supreme Elders rushed down beneath the 9 Palaces platform and bowed. Gu Tianchen looked around and smiled. A little late are we. Where is the one who broke the formation? So young, yet his foundation is as stable as stone. Not only did he comprehend battle intent, but he is also a great sword cultivator. To cultivate both sword and martial paths to such a level is rare, truly rare. Hearing this, Lanxiu trembled. Kang Zhang's face lost every trace of blood. 3 words of praise. Rare, truly rare. The entire field fell deathly silent. Sensing that something was wrong, Gu Tianchen frowned and looked around. What happened? Lanxiu stepped forward, bowed deeply to Gu Tianchen, and recounted everything that had happened. He did not dare hide a single detail. After hearing it, the field became even more silent. Several Supreme Elders and the other 2 Vice Academy Masters looked coldly at Lanxiu, their expressions extremely unfriendly. If not for Gu Tianchen's remnant shadow standing there, they might have already erupted in rage. After a moment, Gu Tianchen shook his head softly. This formation was personally created by Academy Master Mu in the past. Later, I felt it was slightly weak, so I transformed the wooden figures into sword cultivators. Anyone under 20 who can break this formation, even if he cheated, did so because he had the ability. And the person who broke the formation earlier did not cheat. Although he has no dantian, that only makes him even more extraordinary. Without a dantian, he still broke this formation. Do you not find that terrifying? Lanxiu's face turned pale. When he remembered Lanxiu's attitude, his face became even paler. What kind of person was Lanxiu, a terrifying genius like her? How could someone she favored be ordinary? Of course not. Thinking of this, Lanxiu smiled bitterly and bowed deeply to Gu Tianchen. It was I who was blind. Gu Tianchen shook his head. Matters of fate cannot be forced. He swept his gaze across the crowd. I left Qingzhou several hundred years ago, back then. I left behind this remnant shadow because I wanted to see whether anyone in later generations could break the Formation Academy Master Mu. And I left behind in the shortest time. I did not expect such an outcome, so be it. I can no longer interfere in the affairs of Cangmu Academy. Handle this yourselves. With that, his body gradually faded. Seeing this, everyone present bowed deeply. Farewell, Academy Master Gu. Before long, Gu Tianchen's remnant shadow disappeared completely. In the field, the 2 Vice Academy Masters, the tutors, and the elders all looked at Lanxiu. Lanxiu smiled bitterly. I will go to the cliff of reflection now. When the Academy Master leaves seclusion, he may decide my punishment. He then looked at a white-haired old man not far away. Brother Mo Song, I will temporarily leave the Academy's affairs to you. Mo Song was another Vice Academy Master of Cangmu Academy. Mo Song sighed. You truly handled this matter poorly. But saying anything now is meaningless. Go to the cliff of reflection and wait for the Academy Master to leave seclusion. Wait. At that moment, an old man in a black robe suddenly stepped forward. This man was the other Vice Academy Master, Ku Mo. Everyone looked at him. Ku Mo said coldly, he is only a decent monstrous talent. If he failed to enter Cangmu Academy, that is his loss, not ours. Forgive my bluntness, but that boy is not qualified for us to punish a Vice Academy master over him. Everyone fell silent. Kumo continued, if Cangmu Academy punishes Lanxiu over this, would we not become a joke to the world? Moreover, although that boy is not bad, he is still not worth Cangmu Academy sacrificing a Vice Academy master. Send down an order. Say that Xuan is trash our Cangmu Academy did not want. Let the whole world know that whether he is a genius or a monster, before Cangmu Academy, he is still only a crippled waste. The elders and tutors looked at one another. Some hesitated while others showed agreement. Kumo continued, since the time of Academy Master Gu, when has Cangmu Academy ever bowed its head to anyone? Never before and never in the future, he looked around. Today, all students of Cangmu Academy must remember this. Xuan has joined Canglan Academy. Next year, I want you to hang his head on the mountain path. Cangmu Academy must let the world know that failing to enter our academy is the greatest loss of Xuan's life. Countless Cangmu Academy students bowed. We will definitely hang Xuan's head on the mountain path. Hearing this, Kumo nodded. The elders, including Lanxiu, also nodded. Before long, the news spread throughout the Imperial Capital. Xuan, the person Cangmu Academy had rejected, had been picked up by Canglan Academy. In these days, Xuan's name spread across the entire Imperial Capital, but not as a good reputation. He had become a joke, not only Xuan. Even Canglan Academy had become a joke. Canglan Academy has fallen so far that it now picks up students Cangmu Academy does not want. That sentence spread throughout the Imperial Capital. At the same time, Cangmu Academy's prestige and momentum rose once again to its peak. On a quiet mountain path, Xuan carried Ye Lian on his back and followed the old man ahead. The old man took only a few steps before stopping to lift his wine gourd and take a fierce drink. Brother, I feel so warm, does it feel good? It feels good, that is good, brother, promise me. In the future, do not kneel to anyone because of me, all right. Xuan fell silent. Ye Lian tightened her arms around his neck. Brother, I would rather die than see you kneel for me. Xuan said softly, I would rather kneel before everyone under heaven than let you die young. Brother. In the next life, I want to be your little sister again. No, not just the next life. The life after that, and the one after that, and the one after that. A quarter of an hour later, the old man stopped. Xuan stopped as well. Not far ahead stood two small mountains. They were not tall, only a few dozen zhang high. Compared with Mount Kang of Cangmu Academy, they looked painfully small. Between the two mountains was a narrow path. Beside the path stood a stone stele surrounded by overgrown weeds. 4 black characters were carved into it, Canglan Academy. The 4 characters seemed desolate. Under the old man's lid, Xuan carried his sister through the small path. At the end of it stood another mountain, only slightly taller than the two behind them. He could vaguely see some buildings on its peak. The old man walked slowly and casually, and Xuan followed with Ye Lian on his back. Suddenly the old man said, I do not know how many years it has been. You are the first person willing to join Canglan Academy. Xuan was stunned. He asked carefully, Senior, forgive me for asking, but how many students does Canglan Academy currently have? Including you too, the old man answered without turning back. Xuan froze where he stood. After a while, he hurriedly carried Ye Lian to the old man's side. Senior, are you sure you are not joking? The old man glanced at him. Do I look like I am joking? No, but Xuan's throat moved. Including me, Canglan Academy really only has 2 students. The old man nodded. Seeing that the old man did not seem to be joking, Xuan smiled bitterly. Senior, 2 students, this. He did not know what to say. The old man patted his shoulder. Do not worry. I have already recruited 2 more people. They will arrive soon. By then, Canglan Academy will have 4 students. With that, he walked toward the distant peak. Xuan stood there in a daze. Ye Lian lay on his back and glanced at the old man in the distance. Brother, I think you have been tricked. Xuan shook his head and smiled. He saved you. For that alone, even if this is a pit, I am willing to jump in. With that, he carried Ye Lian and quickly followed. Before long, the old man brought them to the top of the mountain. There was only one broken-down main hall and a dozen rooms. The paint on the outside of the hall had peeled away almost completely. Several huge cracks ran through the walls. Worse still, the hall had only one door left and weeds grew everywhere. Xuan looked at the old man. The old man said, "Canglan Hall. Normally this is where we discuss affairs and receive guests. But there have been no affairs to discuss and no guests to receive for many years. It is a little abandoned, you can clean it later, Xuan." The old man pointed behind the halls. "The rooms over there are all empty, choose one and stay there, I am tired, I will go rest." After saying that, he vanished without even turning back. Only Xuan, carrying Ye Lian, remained in front of the old hall for a long while. He knew Canglan Academy might not be in good condition. But he had never imagined it would be this bad. No, calling it bad was too polite, this was practically ruins. An old man of unknown identity, 2 students. Was this really an academy? It looked more like an orphanage. After a while, Xuan sighed. At that moment, Ye Lian suddenly jumped down from his back and pulled his hand. "Brother, go choose our rooms, I will clean the hall." Xuan hesitated. Ye Lian jumped lightly and smiled. "I am not cold now, go on, I am fine." Seeing that she did not seem to be lying, Xuan nodded and gently rubbed her head. "Do it slowly. I will choose 2 rooms, find some food, and then come help you." Ye Lian nodded. Xuan smiled and turned to leave. After he left, Ye Lian entered the hall, found a broom, and began cleaning. Behind the hall, the area stretched over 10 zhang. Rows of buildings were scattered everywhere. From the outside, one could tell that they had once been very grand. But now they looked miserable. Especially the room before Xuan, half its roof was gone. Xuan shook his head and walked along the weed-covered path. Suddenly he stopped. Not far to his right was a small courtyard that looked rather decent. Unlike the other places, it was not broken down and there were even flowers and plants around it. It looked quite good. Xuan was delighted. "This can be for my sister." With that thought, he quickly walked over and pushed the door open. The moment he stepped inside, he froze. In front of him was a pool. Inside it, a young woman was leaning against the wall of the pool, her legs spread casually. The water was clear. Clear enough to see the bottom. Of course, that was not the most important thing. The most important thing was that the woman was not wearing anything. She looked at Xuan calmly. Xuan froze for a moment, then immediately turned around. At that instant, he sensed a terrifying aura rushing toward him from behind. A blade as thin as a cicada wing rested against his neck. Xuan's expression changed. He quickly raised both hands and shouted, "I only like men." Time seemed to freeze. Xuan's face was tense, and cold sweat poured down his forehead. The strength of the girl behind him was far beyond his expectations. If he had not turned around just now, perhaps he could have risked a fight. But now that the initiative was gone, he had fallen into a difficult position. A second of silence passed. The blade at his neck disappeared. Xuan breathed out in relief. He did not immediately leave, but slowly turned around. The girl had already put on a long black dress, dark as flowing ink, embroidered with mountains and rivers. Her figure was slender. The black sash at her waist outlined her graceful shape. Her eyes were as cold as an autumn lake, clear enough to see through everything. Beautiful. That was Xuan's first impression. Then he suddenly remembered what he had just seen, and his face heated. He had never been close to women, but he was still a man. He possessed everything a man should possess. The girl slowly walked toward him and stared at him, making his scalp go numb. Xuan raised his eyes and looked back. His gaze carried pure disgust, as if seeing her body had been a great humiliation. He knew Jiang Kingdom was not an open place. Women cared greatly about purity. He showed such an attitude only in the hope that the matter would become less troublesome. After all, he had been in the wrong first, still he felt wronged. How could he have known someone was bathing here in broad daylight? But the girl truly was beautiful. If he could look again, he would not mind. The thought startled Xuan. What did he want to look at again for? At that moment the girl spoke, "Who are you?" Her voice was icy and killing intent filled her eyes. Xuan quickly focused. Xuan. I just arrived at the academy. As he spoke, he stepped back several paces. It did not look like he was trying to flee, but rather trying to keep distance from her. His eyes still carried a trace of disgust. Seeing his reaction, the girl frowned. Am I that unpleasant to your eyes? Xuan did not answer. But the 2 steps he took backward were answer enough. The girl looked at him and shook her head. You look handsome and refined. I did not expect you to be bent. What can men even do with each other, Xuan? The girl did not press him further. She only gave him a pitying look and returned to her room. Xuan knew the matter was over and finally relaxed. He hurriedly left the small courtyard, found 2 empty rooms nearby and began cleaning. After walking around the mountain, he returned with both hands full of simple mountain ingredients. Xuan was skilled at surviving in the wild. He had once used these plain foods to keep himself and his sister alive. When he arrived at Canglan Hall, Ye Lian had already cleaned it. She ran toward him happily with a sweet smile. Big brother. Xuan gently rubbed her head. Are you tired? No, Ye Lian said, shaking her head. Xuan smiled. Then clean the tables over there, I will cook. Ye Lian's eyes lit up, her brother's cooking. Xuan's cooking was better than the chefs of the Ye family. It was her favorite thing to eat. Half an hour later, the old moldy table inside Canglan Hall was covered with 4 or 5 fragrant dishes. The siblings looked at each other and smiled. Just as they were about to eat, a figure walked in. It was none other than the old man's. He smelled strongly of sour wine. His wrinkled clothes were filthy, as if they had not been washed for years. He sat at the main seat without the slightest courtesy. Just as he was about to pick up the chopsticks, another person arrived. Xuan narrowed his eyes. It was that girl. She sat to the old man's left, swept her gaze across the dishes on the table and looked at Xuan. You made this for me, Xuan. Ye Lian's round eyes moved back and forth between her brother and the girl. The girl said nothing else. She picked up a small mushroom and placed it in her mouth. After chewing, she nodded, not bad. The old man heard this and eagerly followed. After swallowing, he nodded at Xuan. Good. From now on, cooking at Canglan Academy is your responsibility. The corner of Xuan's mouth twitched. For a moment, he wanted to hit someone. Ye Lian tilted her head and looked at the old man. But my brother is a student. The old man replied, cooking is also cultivation, Ye Lian. Xuan could no longer endure it, senior. Academy Master, the old man interrupted. Call me Academy Master Jai, Xuan nodded. Academy Master Jai, our academy is so large. Should we not hire a few servants? Unexpectedly, the old man asked in return, are you paying? Xuan was stunned. Shouldn't you be the one paying? Academy Master Jai shook his head. I have no money, I can barely afford wine, Xuan. The girl had not spoken. She only lowered her head and ate with astonishing speed, as if she had been starved for 10 days. The Ye siblings were stunned. After all the food on the table had been swept clean, she licked her chopsticks with lingering desire and looked at Xuan. Is there more? Xuan, Ye Lian put down her chopsticks and said, there are still some ingredients not yet cooked. I will go wash them first. Then she quickly ran behind the hall. Xuan asked quietly, is this place safe? Old Jai nodded, yes. Xuan hesitated before saying, Academy Master Jai, this is still an academy. There should be a place to study, right? No, Old Jai answered decisively, study by yourself, Xuan, Martial Hall. The girl suddenly spoke while licking her chopsticks. Old Jai looked at Xuan. Behind the mountain is a martial hall. Inside are some martial insights left by former students. If you are lucky, you may find 1 or 2 martial techniques there. Xuan sighed. I will go cook more food. He stood and left, leaving the girl and the old man at the table. The girl put down her chopsticks. Where did you pick him up? Old Jai took a drink from his wine gourd and said slowly, from the group rejected by Cangmu Academy. The girl was silent for a long while. Why accept him? Old Jai replied immediately, potential. The girl said calmly, I alone am enough. The old man's hand trembled slightly. Then he raised his gourd and took another drink. And Jai, you are carrying too much. The girl replied softly, "It is my fate and my responsibility." She turned and looked outside the hall. Although they died, their souls are still trapped in their bodies. As long as we do not bring them home, they cannot rest. And then there is my eldest brother, my second brother, my father. The old man slowly closed his eyes. You are the last bloodline of the Jai family, the girl smiled faintly. Then all the more reason I cannot push this responsibility onto someone else. The old man shook his head. In all of Jiang Kingdom, only in Lanxiu can suppress those two. That is your problem. The girl stood and walked away. When she reached the doorway, she stopped and smiled. The worst outcome is only one more corpse hanging on Mount Kang. What is there to fear? After she left, the hall held only the sound of wine passing down the old man's throat. When night fell, Xuan waited for Ye Lian to fall asleep before entering the world prison tower. He sat cross-legged and asked, "Senior, am I a great sword cultivator now?" More or less the mysterious woman replied. "Why?" Xuan asked curiously. After all, he still could not produce sword light. What you lack now is only realms. With your current foundation and sword attainment, once you reach the Imperial Kai realm and condense Kai inside your body, you will be able to release sword Kai freely. Xuan asked in a low voice, "And my battle intent? Do you understand the martial Dao?" she asked. Xuan shook his head. You comprehended battle intent ahead of time. But because you have not gone through the process of cultivating the martial Dao, you cannot be called a martial Dao Grandmaster. Moreover, to become a true martial Dao Grandmaster, your battle intent must be able to take form. You cannot do that yet. What you must do now is accumulate martial knowledge while not neglecting the sword Dao. Also, you may begin searching for a spirit sword. A spirit sword? Xuan smiled bitterly. Buying one was impossible. So where was he supposed to dig one up? This was a serious problem. A while later, Xuan began cultivating not only sword techniques, but also fists and footwork. The only martial technique he knew was collapsing fist. After combining it with battle intent, he discovered that its power had changed tremendously. At the very least, it could now be considered a low-grade profound rank technique. Only then did Xuan truly realize how terrifying battle intent was. If he could comprehend sword intent, the power of one sword decides life and death would become even more frightening. One night passed. The next morning, Xuan heard old Jai say that a girl surnamed and was waiting for him. He immediately rushed down the mountains. He soon arrived at the foot of the mountain and saw a woman in spotless white standing before the stone stele, beautiful enough to steal one's breath. And Lanxiu, Xuan smiled and walked over. "Miss Anne." And Lanxiu nodded in return, and was about to speak when a sloppy-looking man walked over with an unsteady gait, carrying a black iron staff on his shoulder. The moment he saw Lanxiu, his eyes lit up. "Beauty, beautiful lady." Xuan suddenly rushed forward and blocked Lanxiu. He glared at the man. "I am quite handsome too, look as much as you want, free of charge." The man behind Xuan and Lanxiu glanced at him and said nothing. The man in front of Xuan studied him for a moment. "Boy, I think you are asking for a beating." As soon as he finished speaking, the man swung the iron staff at Xuan. Xuan clenched his right fist and battle intent gathered. He punched. Whoosh, the air exploded, boom. After the impact, the man with the staff retreated several zhang, the black staff in his hand trembling violently. Xuan also retreated about one zhang, his right hand shaking slightly. The man looked at his iron staff, then at Xuan. "You have some skill." Then he threw the iron staff at Xuan. Whoosh. A sharp whistling tore through the air. Xuan's face remained calm. When the staff reached him, he suddenly punched. A simple punch, collapsing fist. One punch capable of splitting stone and shattering gold. Boom. The iron staff trembled violently and flew back. But at that moment, a figure suddenly appeared before Xuan. In the blink of an eye, a cold flash shot toward his throat. Danger. That was Xuan's first feeling. He narrowed his eyes and no longer held back. His right hand turned slightly. A deep sword cry rang out, then boom. A figure was shaken back more than 10 zhang. It was the man. After stopping, he looked at Xuan in surprise. "A sword cultivator." "I did not expect you to be a sword cultivator." Xuan looked at him. Are we still fighting? The man laughed. Fight, of course we are fighting. In this life, when has Mo Yunqi feared anyone? Before he could finish, Xuan suddenly appeared before him. In the next second, cold light flashed. Mo Yunqi's expression changed completely. You little bastards, you attack without warning. As he spoke, he swung his iron staff. Metal met metal, clang. A sharp collision rang out, and Mo Yunqi retreated more than 10 zhang. This time, Xuan did not continue. He stepped back beside Lanxiu and glanced at her. Excuse my rudeness. And Lanxiu only smiled without speaking. Xuan felt somewhat uncomfortable. More accurately, he felt embarrassed. As if remembering something, he suddenly looked at Mo Yunqi not far away. Are we still fighting? With that, he charged out again, Mo Yunqi. And Lanxiu looked at Xuan thoughtful. After about half a quarter of an hour, a voice suddenly sounded. Enough, it was old Jai. After speaking, old Jai appeared not far from Lanxiu. He nodded to her, then looked toward Xuan and Mo Yunqi, but the two did not stop. Old Jai looked at Lanxiu. National scholar and cares about him quite a bit. The him naturally referred to Xuan. And Lanxiu brushed a strand of hair beside her ear. Yes. Hearing this, old Jai narrowed his eyes. National scholar, and do you know what you are saying? And Lanxiu smiled softly. Just the fact that he dared stand before several thousand Tang soldiers makes him qualified to be my friend. Of course, for now we are only friends. Friends, old Jai sighed softly. In all of Jiang Kingdom, there were probably fewer than 5 people qualified to become friends with the young woman before him. Boom. At that moment, an explosion rang out in the distance. Mo Yunqi retreated more than 10 zhang. Xuan did not attack again and returned to Lanxiu's side. Mo Yunqi glanced at Xuan and Lanxiu and also stopped. Old Jai looked at Mo Yunqi. From now on, both of you are students of Canglan Academy. Xuan and Mo Yunqi were both stunned. Students of Canglan Academy, Mo Yunqi pointed at Xuan. He is also a student of Canglan Academy. Old Jai said softly. What? Is there a problem? Mo Yunqi glanced at Old Jai. Old man, how many students does our Canglan Academy have in total? Old Jai replied, including you 3. But one more person will arrive soon. Then there will be four people. Mo Yunqi froze like a statue. After a long while, he turned and walked away. I am going to Cangmu Academy. Old Jai looked at him calmly. You do not want the second half of the Heaven Crossing staff art anymore. In the distance, Mo Yunqi stopped. He turned and looked at Old Jai. Old man, grandfather, great-grandfather. An academy with 4 students. Are you sure this academy has a future? Old Jai said softly, you already signed the admission form for Canglan Academy. If you go to Cangmu Academy now, they will not accept you. Hearing this, Mo Yunqi pointed at Old Jai in rage. Old man, you tricked me. Old Jai shrugged. I did not force you before. You were the one who begged to join Canglan Academy. Mo Yunqi was so angry he nearly spat blood. You still dare say that? You said Canglan Academy was not much different from Cangmu Academy. It truly is not that different, Old Jai said. Both are in the Imperial Capital. Both are academies. Is there a problem? Mo Yunqi nearly choked with anger. Not much different. This was a difference between heaven and earth. If he could beat the old man, he would have attacked already. At that moment, Old Jai flicked his finger. A black book fell before Mo Yunqi. Mo Yunqi glanced at it, and in the next second his eyes lit up. He hurriedly picked it up. Old Jai pointed to the mountain above. Mo Yunqi struggled inwardly. He looked at the book in his hand. In the end, he sighed and unwillingly walked toward the mountain peak. But as he passed Xuan and Lanxiu, he suddenly looked at Xuan. When I finish practicing this book, we will fight again. Xuan shrugged. I will be waiting. Fighting, he liked it too. Old Jai suddenly said, boy, this is the Imperial Capital. You had better keep a low profile. Mo Yunqi snorted. Low profile. Old man, with someone as outstanding as me, do I need to keep a low profile? I am not bragging, but in the entire Imperial Capital, who is more outstanding than me? At this point, he looked toward the horizon and spoke with heroic confidence. Right now, the #1 genius of Jiang Kingdom is supposed to be in Lanxiu Isin Tishi. That was the past. Now I Mo Yunqi have arrived. What is in Lanxiu? Just wait. One of these days I will beat her until she cries. Xuan's expression became strange. Old Jai shook his head from the side. This is the first time I have seen someone so eager to seek death. Mo Yunqi was about to speak when a white afterimage suddenly appeared behind him. His expression changed. He spun around and smashed his iron staff down. Boom. After the explosion, Mo Yunqi flew backward, and the ground shook violently. Then a strange scene appeared. A figure was repeatedly smashed into the ground while groaning non-stop. This continued for an entire quarter of an hour before finally stopping. The figure was Mo Yunqi. At this moment he lay on the ground like a pile of mud, his face swollen like a pig's head, and Lanxiu looked at Xuan. Walk with me for a while. Xuan smiled softly. All right. The two walked side by side toward a small path not far away. Behind them Mo Yunqi roared, just wait. If I do not avenge this, she is in Lanxiu. No one knew when old Jai had appeared beside Mo Yunqi. Mo Yunqi immediately went silent. Then he turned his head away and said nothing. Old Jai kicked him lightly. Do not pretend to be dead. Stand up and keep shouting. What is in Lanxiu? Beat her until she cries. Mo Yunqi did not move. Old Jai said nothing more. He grabbed one of Mo Yunqi's legs and dragged him up the mountain. On a quiet path, Xuan and Lanxiu walked side by side. And Lanxiu said softly, I did not expect you to join Canglan Academy. Xuan was silent. He had not expected it either. Fate was truly unpredictable, and Lanxiu suddenly stopped. I am leaving Jiang Kingdom. I came today to say farewell. Leaving Jiang Kingdom, Xuan turned to look at her, and Lanxiu met his eyes. I am a little worried about you. Xuan shook his head. I do not understand, and Lanxiu stepped forward. Now she was very close to him. Xuan could even smell the faint fragrance on her body. She looked directly at him. Everyone has underestimated you. Perhaps even I have underestimated you. I do not know what fortune you have encountered, nor do I know what your true trump card is. But you make me feel a little danger. She shook her head and smiled. In all of Jiang Kingdom, very few people can make me feel danger. And this kind of danger is not the usual kind. Xuan was silent. And Lanxiu continued forward, and Xuan slowly followed. After a while she said softly, after I leave, perhaps no one in Jiang Kingdom will truly be able to suppress you anymore. Your temperament is direct and impulsive. I fear that one day, the Imperial Capital may fall into disorder because of you. At this point she looked at him. Promise me one thing. After I leave, if you have the ability, please look after Jiang Kingdom a little. Xuan smiled bitterly. You may be thinking too highly of me, and Lanxiu smiled softly. You still have not answered me. Xuan said in a deep voice, I promise. In the future, if I have the ability, I will do what I can for Jiang Kingdom. Do you know what I like about you? And Lanxiu suddenly asked, like me. Xuan froze, his mind going blank. And Lanxiu also paused slightly. She realized she had misspoken, but she did not explain. She only smiled and walked forward. Xuan stood stunned for a while, then slowly followed. For a time, neither of them spoke, they only walked in silence. After a while, Lanxiu stopped. She took out a black jade pendant and handed it to Xuan. What is this? Xuan asked, puzzled. And Lanxiu replied, the powers in the northern mountains of Jiang Kingdom, near Two Realm City, discovered a ruin. It was left behind by a sword lord. They have nearly finished opening it. In at most 1 month, people will be able to enter. This jade pendant is the qualification token sent to me. With it, you will have the right to enter that ruin. For me, going inside does not have much meaning. But you are a sword cultivator, it may be useful to you. Also, the ruin lies in a volcanic region. There should be extremely hot things beneath the earth. If you can obtain one, it will greatly benefit your sister, but remember to be careful. Aside from the top geniuses of Jiang Kingdom, some top geniuses from other countries will also go there. You cannot be careless. Xuan thought for a moment, then accepted the jade pendant, and Lanxiu smiled softly, farewell. With that, she walked into the distance. Will we meet again? Xuan suddenly asked, and Lanxiu stopped. Perhaps I will move very fast. Xuan grinned, I will surpass you. And Lanxiu turned back and smiled, do your best. After saying that, she turned and vanished at the end of the small path. Xuan watched her distant figure for a long while before finally coming back to himself. He raised his hand. In his palm was another jade pendant she had given him, 2 jade pendants. Xuan looked at them and suddenly smiled foolishly. Since childhood, he had depended only on his sister. Very few people had treated him well. Even when they did, more than half had ulterior motives, but in Lanxiu was different. Those who treated him well, he would never forget them in this life. After a while, Xuan clenched the 2 jade pendants tightly and turned back up the mountain. All the way he kept smiling foolishly,